In the ephemeris 1390, within the northern continent, a sudden onslaught of ferocious beasts continued to wreak havoc upon the land. Swiftly, the last bastion of human defense, the city of Xuanwu, fell prey to their invasion. Confronted by these enormous beasts, humanity was reduced to mere ants. Despair was the prevailing sentiment in the hearts of many as they faced their impending death. The colossal hand of a beast was poised to strike unmercifully. Yet, in that moment, a sword arrived from the west. With an explosive sound, it struck the beast's back with such force that the nearby creatures hesitated in their tracks. But to their surprise, in the very next moment, a flurry of flying swords swooped down from the sky, claiming their lives. In due time, the master of these flying swords revealed himself, his figure godlike in its majesty. The despairing children recognized him as the last hope for mankind, the Star-Soul General. At his arrival, a cheer rose among the surviving populace. Their savior had come. The Star-Soul General, known as Dong Yuan Master, was controlled by Song Yunxiang, the last warrior capable of manipulating the Star-Soul Generals. For decades, he had stood as the lone guardian for the remnants of humanity. Now, at the final stronghold, facing the combined assault of the beasts, he had nowhere left to retreat. The beast's overwhelming power cast a bloody hue over the twilight sky. The Dong Yuan Master, glowing crimson not due to bloodlust but from soul energy overload, shielded the humans from the attack. Song Yunxiang realized he must lure the beasts away to a deserted area, only there could he fully unleash his power. With that thought, he deactivated the Dong Yuan Master's gear, allowing the Star Master system to conjure a replicated Star Soul General. A new Star Soul General began to form, and soon Chao Ren appeared, gleaming brightly. Accompanied by a celestial color shift, Chao Ren's unique attire manifested. This new Star Soul General, with the ability to morph into the Starry Phoenix, utilized his superior flight speed to decimate the battlefield. Yet, despite his efforts, he was quickly drained. The Star Master system issued a warning to Song Yunxiang. This mysterious power, capable of replicating Star Soul Generals and guiding Song Yunxiang through lethal situations, was a relic of an ancient civilization that he had chanced upon. With the Star Master system's abilities, he had escaped death several times. When restrained, he would immediately disintegrate, not only to escape the enemy's control but also to reconstruct a new replicated Star Soul General with exclusive celestial colors in the next moment. The Star Soul General by Qi made his appearance, a balanced type with both speed and power. Although the replicated Star Soul General possessed the same power as the original, Song Yunxiang's soul vein had been damaged in his youth, leaving a lifelong defect. As a result, he was stuck at the holy rank and could only unleash less than 20% of the combat power of the replicated celestial color Star Soul Generals. Faced with the encirclement of the beasts, naturally, he couldn't hold out for long. The next replicated Star Soul General, Ao Bing, soon took the stage. Detecting no humans in the vicinity, Song Yunxiang decided to go all out. He activated Ao Bing's reverse scale mode, and the six-headed dragon cannon was ready to fire. The next second, the beast-killing dragon cannon, with its terrifying wide-range destructive power, fired in rapid succession. The group of beasts suffered heavy casualties, but in less than 3 seconds, Ao Bing's soul power was overloaded. If so, deconstruct and reconstruct, and bring on the coolest possible form. Who is this but Lu Bu, unrivaled in battle, a power-type Star Soul General? Constructing this unrivaled warrior consumed too much, and Song Yunxiang had to take another pill. His body was on the verge of collapse. But he pressed on, sweeping through enemy ranks like a scythe through wheat, overturning countless beasts. His courage was that of a single warrior taking on an army. Perceiving the situation, the leader of the fierce beasts swiftly marshaled his energy. In the blink of an eye, a torrential outpour of power descended, overwhelming Lu Bu. In a desperate bid, Song Yunxiang chose to disassemble himself. In the next instant, he reassembled above the leader of the beasts, launching a series of crescent earth chops. As a spirit master of the eastern continent, Song Yunxiang wielded Guan Yu with consummate skill. Long before the fierce beasts wrought destruction upon the eastern continent, he had already honed his combat experience in the internecine strife among the human clans. Descending, Guan Yu launched another crescent earth chop, eliminating several more enemies. Having escaped the collapse of Tiandu Nation in the eastern continent, Song Yunxiang had been a soldier, surviving countless near-death experiences on the battlefield for decades. However, the increasing frequency of rifts and the relentless onslaught of increasingly powerful and numerous beasts left him beleaguered. Guan Yu, too, could not withstand much longer and was subsequently blasted down. Guan Yu was defeated, and though other star spirits could take over, Song Yunxiang's body was at the end of its tether, even his elixirs were depleted. To make matters worse, the beast leader was now amassing a colossal energy ball which was hurtling towards them. With no avenue for evasion, Long Ju could only adopt a passive defense, planning to gradually deflect the surging energy through the rapid rotation of his shield. In an instant, Long Ju was surrounded by numerous tentacles extending aggressively from the smoky surroundings, immobilizing him in the next second. Song Yunxiang had no other option but to disassemble again, but he had exhausted all his cards and could only revert to his original form, the Dong Yuan Master. Then, his floating flying sword soared into the sky, instantly shattering the few beast leaders that had ensnared him. Barely had he landed and caught his breath when the system alerted him of a super-scale spatial fluctuation. A multitude of enemies was closing in, and it warned Song Yunxiang that he must evacuate the combat zone before the countdown ended, or he would undoubtedly perish. With 2 seconds left, Song Yunxiang was astonished to see a rift tearing open the blood-red sky, and more beasts began to emerge. Faced with a sky full of leader-level beasts, Song Yunxiang failed to evacuate before the countdown ended, so he requested a new escape plan from the system. The system proposed leading the enemies towards the transport ship and escaping the combat zone while the enemies attacked the ship. Song Yunxiang feels incredibly weighed down, and he regretfully denied the Star Master System's suggestion. As long as the human race maintained a spark of life, there would undoubtedly be a day of resurgence. Since he couldn't escape, he decided to make a final stand for them. "I'm sorry to those who once entrusted their futures to me," he lamented, his body and spirit hovering on the brink of the icy abyss. Yet, his blood was surging with an unprecedented fervor. He cried out, "The spirit lives on, and I will never die." In the next instant, he self-destructed, obliterating himself along with the beasts in the vicinity. From then on, Song Yunxiang was no more, leaving only the dust of history. So, was this the end of the story? Not quite. Song Yunxiang found himself lying in bed. As he slowly opened his eyes and sat up, utterly bemused, he was shocked to discover upon looking in the mirror that he had been reborn. He was back to his 18-year-old self, back to Southern State Mech Martial Academy 60 years ago. This impassioned youth was named Lu Yen. Today marked his arrival at Southern State Mech Martial Academy for registration. Drawn in by a spectacular mech duel taking place within the academy, he stood transfixed within the arena. This earned him the ire of a young woman who commanded him to leave, so as not to distract her brother in the cockpit. In mere moments, her fears were confirmed as her brother was defeated. Witnessing the dire situation, Lu Yen fled at full speed but, in his panic, found himself outside a changing room, catching sight of several women in mid-dress. With no alternative, he initiated another round of flight, but ultimately, he was apprehended and brought to the principal's office. Upon reviewing Lu Yan's credentials, Principal Gu Shijing came to the startling realization that this young man was a prodigy. Laughing, she assured him of her protection and arranged for him to join He Yan's 10th class. The class leader, He Yan, who had been peeped on, wore a disgruntled expression, but she held her peace, planning to deal with Lu Yan later. After Lu Yan left with He Yan, secretary reported to Gu Shijing about a student named Song Yunxiang who had been missing for 3 days. Gu Shijing, recalling him as a mediocre student with connections, paid little mind. As Lu Yan followed He Yan, he abruptly halted, captivated by a grand statue. He Yan explained to him that it was a tribute to the Academy's hero, the Star Soul General, Swa Si. The first principal of the Southern State Mech Martial Arts Academy once piloted the Star Soul General, securing the territory of Southern State for the Kingdom of Tiandu. He also established the Southern State Mech Martial Arts Academy. Upon hearing this, Lu Yan's face lit up with excitement, declaring his ambition to become a hero akin to the first principal. At that moment, Swa Si's soul gem began to resonate. Lu Yan inquired if he had been chosen as the successor host of Swa Si. He Yan promptly dismissed his assumption, asserting that it could not possibly be the case, as Sua Si would never select a rogue. In due course, He Yan led Lu Yan to the 10th class registration, introducing him to their shapely instructor, O Pei. O Pei requested He Yan and Lu Yan to spar, aiming to gauge Lu Yan's abilities. He Yan, seeing an opportunity for personal redress, was more than eager. After the mech was assembled, He Yan launched a fierce attack, initially overpowering Lu Yan. However, he quickly devised a strategy, ultimately risking severe damage to his mech, bravely taking a direct hit, to seize an opportunity for a frontal thrust at He Yan's vulnerability. O Pei admired Lu Yan's audacious maneuver, expressing her desire for him to spar with her in a few days and promising that if he could hold on for a minute, she would grant him any request. Lu Yan retorted that a true man should last at least 3 minutes, inadvertently reminding his classmates of Song Yunxiang, infamous for his congenital soul vein damage. Song Yunxiang's star soul automatically disintegrates every 3 minutes, perhaps his performance in other areas is similar. Irritated by the increasingly inappropriate conversation, O Pei commanded them to leave at once. Her words had barely faded when the clear sky suddenly darkened ominously. A massive tear appeared in the sky above the academy, and a horde of ferocious beasts descended. O Pei decisively ordered her assistant, Cheng, to shield the students as they retreated, and Cheng promptly assembled his long-range instructor mech for defense. Assessing the situation, O Pei grew increasingly alarmed at the sheer number of invading beasts. Seeing Cheng struggling and needing to adjust, she timely assembled her mech to block the beast's attack, but they were outnumbered and soon to be surrounded. Just then, they received a message from the principal's office indicating that reinforcements were on their way and ordering O Pei to hold the line. Shortly after the message, additional support from the student council's disciplinary enforcement team arrived. In a matter of seconds, they quickly formed a defensive formation, and Principal Gu Shijing predicted that this highly effective formation should be able to hold out. Reinforcements from various teams arrived shortly, completing the encirclement of the beast swarm centered around the rift. Gu Shijing immediately ordered them to hold their positions and defend until the beast tide had subsided. Meanwhile, Lu Yan and He Yan, who had been fleeing, were about to be caught by the beasts. He Yan decided to cover for Lu Yan and let him run first, but she was immediately at a disadvantage. Lu Yan deemed himself utterly worthless, contemplating if only he possessed an Star Soul General, he could have been of some use. Suddenly, an idea sparked within him regarding Sua Si, speculating that if he was the chosen one by Sua Si's soul jade, perhaps the statue of Sua Si could lend him aid. Upon reading this, you might envisage Lu Yan about to descend as a god from the heavens to rescue the academy, establish a vast harem, and ascend to the pinnacle of life, right? Yet, in the following moment, his fortune was destined to be usurped by the protagonist. Upon the statue of Sua Si stood a figure, who held Sua Si's soul jade in his grasp. Overwhelmed with surprise, Lu Yan exclaimed in a loud voice, "Who are you?" The figure on the statue responded with a slight smile, "I am Song Yunxiang, I apologize, but your opportunity. I've taken it." Casting his thoughts back to the not-too-distant past, Song Yunxiang found himself reborn 60 years prior, instantly recommencing his cultivation. Those he was once powerless to save, the instructors and classmates of the Mech Martial Academy who fell during the savage beast tide, his brothers in the armor-plating guard, the woman who pledged herself to him, the one who had once shielded him, and even those enemies he had failed to vanquish, all the demons that had haunted him for decades shattered in this moment. "Break!" Song Yunxiang cried out. In the next moment, his dwelling was bathed in radiant light. Song Yunxiang had successfully ascended to the pinnacle of the yellow stage. However, to break through 4 minor realms in just 3 days was a formidable task for him, given the still fragmented state of his soul vein. Time, however, was a luxury he could not afford. Once faced with a myriad of adversaries, Song Yunxiang chose to self-detonate, resigning himself to mutual annihilation. Unexpectedly reborn 60 years prior, his saint-level cultivation had not been inherited, he was still the same useless man. But thankfully, the Star Master System had accompanied him. The Star Master System was a miraculous tool Song Yunxiang had accidentally obtained from an ancient civilization's ruins in his past life. It not only possessed some unimaginable capabilities but could also duplicate the star souls of others for his own use. Unfortunately, all the various items and star souls stored in the Star Master system in the past were now gone. He had to start anew. In his previous life, it wasn't until his 50s that he procured a reconstructive pill to mend his soul vein, which left him with a lifelong hidden worry. This time around, he must refine a reconstructive pill as early as possible to thoroughly repair the damaged soul vein. With this thought, Song Yunxiang immediately headed for the Southern State Grand Pharmacy. Regrettably, he was informed that the dragon stem of the medicine sky was still in transit, which made him somewhat uneasy, fearing a repetition of history. On the night of April 11th, the Mech Martial Academy would be destroyed by the Beast Tide. Song Yunxiang decided to seize the time to set up some formations at the Mech Martial Academy to combat the savage beasts. In no time, he had set up various formations throughout the institute. These basic formations were something Song Yunxiang learned in the northern continent, probably a century ahead of the eastern continent in this era. Unfortunately, his current realm was too low to set up anything but a deceleration formation to slow the advance of the savage beasts. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the air. He Yen was introducing the glorious history of the star soul, Zhuasi. Turning his head to look at Zhuasi, Song Yunxiang was immediately reminded of his previous pleas for its power that had gone unanswered. This time, he thought, things would be different. Star Master System, scan this statue. Song Yunxiang commanded loudly.
Detected an unclaimed Star Soul Jade. Target Star Soul General Zhuasi has been locked. Would you like to forcibly attract it?
The system responded. A fluctuation arose from the soul jade of the star soul Zhuasi as the system reported that an unclaimed star soul could not be duplicated and suggested that it should be stored in the system space first. Song Yunxiang felt that it would draw too much attention if he acted now, so he decided to seize it in the chaos when the beast tide erupted at night. Just then, the system sent a message that the dragon stem had arrived. On his way to fetch it, Song Yunxiang suddenly spotted someone who shouldn't be here at this moment. He quickly commanded the system to scan and confirm. Through the Star Master System's perusal, Song Yunxiang discerned the individual's soul force coalescing within his dantian, an idiosyncratic method of cultivation exclusive to the nation of Miran. Miran, a nation bordering the northern realm of Tiandu, is one of the 3 countries on the eastern continent which uphold the orthodox culture. In the memories of Song Yunxiang's previous life, it was Miran that shattered the equilibrium 3 years hence, instigating a comprehensive war of aggression against Tiandu. This marked the outset of a sequence where human nations were successively engulfed in the flames of war, ultimately serving as the fuse that led to the eastern continent's destruction. Why would a person from Miran appear here at this juncture? Could there be some concealed secret unbeknownst to me? While engrossed in his thoughts, Song Yunxiang arrived at the Southern State Grand Pharmacy, only to be informed that urgent orders incurred an additional fee which his current financial resources could not cover. He resolved to barter some pills to offset the expense. The receptionist initially intended to decline politely, but was astounded upon seeing that the potions offered for trade were all rare, 3rd and 4th level pills, and promptly decided to consult with the chief steward. Song Yunxiang requested to utilize the alchemy room, to which the receptionist acquiesced.
You are our esteemed guest. Feel free to use it as you wish.
Upon entering the alchemy room, Song Yunxiang drew forth 4 talismans. He had learned the art of illusory refinement from the spirit people on the southern continent, using the talismans to manifest a quartet fusion array, enabling him to refine pills with bare hands. Song Yunxiang placed the residual ingredients of the pill into the melting array, and not long after, with a deafening shout, collected. The 6th level reconstructive pill was successfully concocted. Without any further delay, Song Yunxiang immediately swallowed the reconstructive pill. The restorative effect of the pill gradually began to mend his damaged soul veins. An hour later, his soul veins had been flawlessly repaired. The chief steward, who had been anxiously waiting outside the alchemy room, fearing an accident might occur, instructed the receptionist to check on the situation. It was at this moment that the doors to the alchemy room swung open, and a refreshed Song Yunxiang confidently strode out. The receptionist introduced him to their chief, Hong Fong. Taking note of Song Yunxiang's attire from the Mech Martial Academy, Hong Fong speculated that the young man was the scion of a prominent family. With due respect, he inquired,
"Pardon my boldness, but do you truly intend to part with this 5-tiered blood ignition pill contained within the bottle?"
"Unfortunately, I am in dire need of funds at the moment." Please, name your price, Mr. Hong.
500,000. Would that be satisfactory, Mr. Song?
Song Yunxiang perceived that the other party was attempting to probe the origin of his pill and feigned reluctance. Observing his demeanor, Hong Fong hastily offered to raise the price. To his surprise, Song Yunxiang produced a storage card, stating that the Jiuan Marquis Manor never took advantage of others. He decided to offer 2 additional blood ignition pills, valuing the total at 1 million. Astonished by Song Yunxiang's generosity, Hong Fong wondered if the Jiuan Marquis Manor was one of the Tiandu 8 generals and if the young man before him was the heir to that house. Seeing Hong Fong's shocked expression, Song Yunxiang figured that the bait should be sufficient to reel in the larger fish behind the scenes. In his past life, the Hong Chamber of Commerce was one of the 3 major trading companies in the East Continent, controlling 70% of the pharmaceutical and refining business in Tiandu country. In this life, to resist the forthcoming beast tide, he needed not only to rapidly enhance his own combat power but also to establish his own forces. Hong Chamber of Commerce, I shall make good use of this big fish. Hong Fong indeed proved quite cooperative, immediately inviting Song Yunxiang to his office for further discussion. When settling the accounts, he even waived the additional fee for the urgent order, and subsequently presented Song Yunxiang with a gold card, stating that it would grant him the privileges of a platinum member at any Hong Chamber of Commerce branch. Song Yunxiang graciously accepted the offer and soon took his leave. However, he had made one miscalculation. Hong Fong was not interested in his background, but rather the possibility that a distinguished 5th-tier alchemist supported him. With this in mind, Hong Fong promptly instructed the receptionist to inform Miss Forth of the news. As Song Yunxiang walked with his head down, he suddenly brushed past a red-haired girl walking briskly. A familiar sensation washed over him. Without even meeting her eyes, he knew she was the woman he had loved in his previous life. Instantly turning around, he caught her hand and exclaimed, "San, is that you?" The girl looked back at him in astonishment and confusion. "It really is you." Song Yunxiang was overjoyed. At that moment, a system voice rang out.
System detects host has made contact with a Star Soul General holder. Star Soul General Lubu begins replicating.
A clandestine organization, Taiyuan, had an enigmatic female assassin among its ranks, San, who also happened to be the host for the Star Soul General, Lu Bu. In his past life, she was a formidable entity, nearly attaining the stature of holy rank. Adhering to the credo of universal love and non-aggression, she leveraged Lu Bu's unmatched prowess to intervene in the battlefields across nations, halting the self-inflicted carnage among the human race. Our paths crossed on the battlefield 3 years hence, and after several life-and-death experiences, we gravitated towards one another. I once queried whether San was her true nomenclature or merely an alias, to which she responded that it was a name bestowed upon her by the great seer of Taiyuan. It was prophesied to signify her destined role to shield those behind her from the storm. This revelation of her real name thrilled me, and it sparked a passionate encounter between San and me.
The Star Soul General, Lu Bu, was successfully replicated.
The system's prompt jerked Song Yunxiang back to reality, only to find that the San before him seemed much more naive than what he remembered. Taken aback, San abruptly brushed off Song Yunxiang's hand, questioning his identity and why he was privy to her name. As she swiftly lunged with a knife, Song Yunxiang caught the blade barehanded and restrained San, attempting to assuage her anxiety, asserting that he meant no harm. San, however, remained skeptical, demanding to know who he was and why he was familiar with the assassination techniques of Taiyuan. Song Yunxiang, noticing that San was being pursued, was about to explain when San suddenly aimed a fierce kick at his groin. The devastating blow nearly incapacitated him. The pursuers, noticing San's escape, gave chase promptly. Song Yunxiang, however, managed to trip them with a swift leg move, causing one to stumble and fall face first. As the fallen man rose and angrily confronted Song Yunxiang, he found him standing in their way, claiming that he was the one who had been hit. The leader of the pursuers intervened to quell the argument, informing Song Yunxiang that they were investigators from the Tiandu Secret Service and asked him not to interfere. Song Yunxiang, naturally skeptical, responded with a hint of sarcasm, "What a coincidence, we are on the same side." Speaking, he extracted a student ID from his pocket, then uttered an unintelligible sentence in a foreign dialect. The other party, failing to comprehend, presumed it to be a code and apologized for their lack of understanding. Song Yunxiang extended a courteous bow. I am designated as number 709394. How should I address you all? The leader motioned his subordinates to disperse, then replied.
We are detectives directly affiliated with the headquarters of Tiandu's secret investigations. Can you elucidate your connection to our mission target?
You're referring to the female assassin from Taiyuan, aren't you? Had you not intervened, she would already be in custody, Song Yunxiang retorted. Pondering the possibility that Song Yunxiang might indeed be an investigator, the leader decided it best to incorporate him into their mission to avoid any potential leaks. Subsequently, he suggested they collaborate. As they sprinted, the leader explained.
Our forces have established a perimeter outside the city. We feign pursuit of the female assassin, but our true intent is to herd her into our trap.
Song Yunxiang commanded his system to scan the man before him, discovering that he too was from the Miran nation, his soul power concentrated in his dantian. Could it be possible that so many Miran spies had infiltrated Tiandu at this point? A sudden realization struck him. In his past life, the Southern State Mech Martial Academy was obliterated during the Beast Tide, and the soul jade of Zhua Si disappeared. Could it have something to do with these Miran spies? Suddenly, Song Yunxiang spotted a stall selling strawberry candy. Recalling San's fondness for it, he promptly bought a large quantity and stashed it in his storage bag. Catching up, the man in the lead casually inquired.
I am Jia Ming. May I know how to address you, brother?
Song Yunxiang responded with a smile. Ah, a pseudonym. I am Cheng, pleased to make your acquaintance. Amidst the woodland, San found herself on the brink of capture by her adversaries. Suddenly, she came to a halt at the foot of a towering tree, only to launch herself from its heights. The intention was to continue her covert operation unsuspected, but to her dismay, enemies lay in wait below. An eerie chuckle came from an old man.
I've been waiting for you for quite a while. Initiate the formation.
Instantaneously, a magical array enveloped San at its center. Black-clad figures descended from the trees, forming a menacing circle around her. The periphery of the formation was even guarded by numerous star souls, creating an inescapable trap. Glancing at the information on his tablet, the old man jested.
So the host of the Star Soul General Lu Bu, known as the Red-Haired Reaper, is such a charming damsel.
San remained indifferent, her attention was solely on the surroundings, seeking an avenue for escape. A man in black, confident of victory, jeered that he would enjoy her that night. The very next instant, his life was cut short by the swift strike of San's flying sword.
Enjoying me? Allow me to facilitate your revelry until death.
San retorted with a cold laughter. The chilling sight of fresh blood served as a stark reminder that San was not to be underestimated. Subsequently, the adversaries resolved to dispense with chivalry and attacked en masse. Soon, Song Yunxiang and Jia Ming arrived within the formation. Through his perception of spatial fold fluctuations, Song Yunxiang deduced a level 5 barrier-type spatial formation was in place. As for the star soul symbols used by the city guard units on the perimeter, Song Yunxiang speculated they were acquired via illicit channels within the capital. Jia Ming escorted Song Yunxiang to the old man. Meanwhile, San was still engaged in intense combat. She was somewhat surprised to see Song Yunxiang. As he greeted her in a friendly manner, he was unexpectedly met with San's flying sword. Luckily, his agility enabled him to use a man in black as a shield, leading to his disgruntled remark, "Hey, why target me? This is dangerous, I'm not on their side." San's curiosity about him grew. Despite being a mere yellow-rank cultivator, how did he evade her attack? The old man was also intrigued by Song Yunxiang and turned to Jia Ming for an explanation. Jia Ming informed him.
This lad is an undercover agent from the Southern State Secret Inspection Department.
The old man commanded.
After we finish off the girl, find an opportunity to eliminate him as well.
Following his words, he ordered the star souls on the perimeter to engage. San narrowly dodged a strike from a star soul. She then leapt into the air, her fingers forming a sword gesture as she cast her spell, chanting loudly.
Star Soul, construct.
As the incantation was spoken, San's star soul began rapidly assembling. Before long, the formidable star soul General Lu Bu, with the strength of 1,000, made his entrance. With a swift downward slash of his Fangtian Huaji, an enemy star soul was shattered in an instant. His formidable attack left many stunned, yet some still charged recklessly with their blades. Wielding his weapon like a grim reaper's scythe, Lu Bu decimated the enemy ranks with a single sweep. Just as a system alert of an attack from behind sounded, San had already prepared her next stratagem. What is the dominating power? With a single swift turn of his head, Lu Bu strikes fear into his adversaries. A swift and fierce kick from Lu Bu greets those who dare to approach him. With a booming sound, 2 Star Soul Generals are sent flying, tumbling hundreds of meters away by the sheer force of his kick. The terror of this attack is evident. Yet, the enemies fearlessly press on, attempting to compensate their lack of power with numbers, swiftly surrounding Lu Bu once again. At this juncture, San glances at the screen, noticing a change on Song Yunxiang's side. You've made quite a commotion outside Yuanding City. Are you not afraid of being discovered by the city's military? Song Yunxiang taunts. Jia Ming reassured him that a barrier formation has been set up which prevents their actions from being detected from the outside. Hearing this, Song Yunxiang chuckles, very well, that puts my mind at ease. As the words leave his mouth, Jia Ming suddenly strikes with his blade. Anticipating the move, Song Yunxiang deftly dodges and, in a swift retaliatory move, pierces Jia Ming's throat with a bamboo stick. As Jia Ming stares back with lifeless eyes, Song Yunxiang laughs. When I said I was at ease, I meant I could dispose of all of you right here. Hearing this, the elder is shocked, immediately commanding his subordinates to surround Song Yunxiang. Unfortunately for them, they are no match for Song Yunxiang, and are quickly dealt with. After all, the battlefield experience accumulated by Song Yunxiang in his previous life was not in vain. Faced with an increasing number of enemies, Song Yunxiang chooses not to linger and makes his escape. Simultaneously, he instructs the Star Master system to infiltrate the spatial formation. The system quickly responds.
The main body of this formation is the 4-star Soul Lock formation. The infiltration is complete, and control of the formation will be established in 2 minutes.
On the other side, San, controlling Lu Bu, continues to fight, but the enemies are numerous and resilient, and she is rapidly losing stamina. The elder notices her waning strength and orders his subordinates to activate the prison Star Soul Lock formation to capture Lu Bu. In no time, a multitude of formations appear around Lu Bu. Within the formation, numerous Star Soul chains extend, binding Lu Bu tightly. San is taken aback. What is this contraption? She discovers that she cannot break free from the Star Soul chains and has no choice but to unleash the Star Soul dissolution. However, to her surprise, she is unable to do so. The elder laughs, knowing that escape from the prison Star Soul Lock formation through Star Soul dissolution is impossible. He commands his subordinates to forcibly extract the Star Soul, to harvest Lu Bu's Soul Stone data. Soon, an elliptical device forms behind Lu Bu. It opens up to reveal a fortified armor mode and begins to extract the Star Soul, copying Lu Bu's Soul Stone data. But just then, an unexpected savior arrives. Everyone on the scene halts in shock as a streak of light streaks across the sky, breaking through the enemy's blockade in an instant, severing the chains binding Lu Bu, and smashing the extraction device. San, now free, turns around in surprise, only to see another Lu Bu with a different skin. From within, Song Yunxiang's voice comes, "My lady, should we speed things up? I might only have 3 minutes." In a world where 2-star Soul Generals donned the guise of Lu Bu, San stared, disbelief etched upon her face. How could this be possible? Suddenly, she found herself at the sharp end of a lunging spear, thrust forward by Song Yunxiang's Lu Bu. A gasp escaped her lips as a resounding crash echoed around them. The spear's destination was not her, but the adversary sneaking up behind her. The strike was accurate, piercing the enemy's cockpit, and as Lu Bu twisted the spear, the driver within dissolved into a cloud of blood. Holy shit! It exploded into a bloody mist. I suppose I should have been even more gentle. Pointing her spear towards Song Yunxiang, San demanded.
Who exactly are you? What kind of Star Soul General is this one you using? Why does it bear such a resemblance to my Lu Bu?
Rest assured, I am no enemy of yours, Song Yunxiang responded. The details can wait until later. For now, let us join forces to deal with this rabble. Grudgingly, San acquiesced to Song's decision. Together, their 2 Lu Bus were invincible. During the battle, San was surprised by Song Yunxiang's control of Lu Bu. Not a single movement was unnecessary. Each thrust of his spear hit the enemy's cockpit with precision. Song Yunxiang seemed to be growing more comfortable, each enemy driver flung aside just so, their bodies still intact. He continued his onslaught, picking off the enemies one by one, as they charged forward. San's battle was not as effortless. She found herself besieged on all sides. Desperate, she unleashed a magnificent thunder moon slash, cleaving an enemy in two. However, it drained a significant amount of her soul power. Seeing Song Yunxiang dispatch the enemy with such ease, San found herself in disbelief.
His cultivation level is only of the yellow rank, yet he can accurately hit the enemy's cockpit with minimal movement. His precise control over soul power output, his understanding of the enemy's star soul general structure, and his clean, efficient moves are reminiscent of a veteran soldier with decades of combat experience.
She thought. Only one left, so it's just you now, Song Yunxiang declared. The enemy leader was trembling within his cockpit. He couldn't comprehend why there were two Lu Bus, both of such formidable power. Bald little leader, surrender now. Song Yunxiang issued his final ultimatum.
This must be an illusion. There can't be two Lu Bus. It's impossible. I will expose you.
The leader, refusing to believe it, launched his attack, only to be sliced into scrap metal by a falling moon slash in the next second, then tumbled heavily to the ground. Song Yunxiang's Lu Bu held his spear to the enemy's neck. You've infiltrated Tiandu State disguised as the Secret Investigation Bureau and even obtained the standard star soul generals of the guards. Fess up, what are you Miran country rabble planning?
What? They're imposters from the Miran country?
San was clearly unaware. You didn't actually believe these fools were from the Tiandu Secret Investigation Bureau, did you? San turned her head and gave a cold snort, refusing to respond.
Exposed, have I? It matters not.
The elder abruptly spiraled into madness.
To your demise! Long live the general!
Look out! He's igniting his soul power. He's going to self-destruct.
Cried out San in warning. Trying to outdo me with self-destruction. Child's play. Song Yunxiang, controlling Lu Bu, casually waved his hand, diffusing the amassed energy.
What? You can suppress self-destruction with a soul power resonance of the same frequency?
San was astounded. Old man, time to make your exit. With a resounding thud, Lu Bu ruthlessly propelled the enemy mech into the air with a single punch, shattering its cockpit. The elder fell, ultimately crashing hard onto the ground. Observing the scene, Song Yunxiang quickly chose to disassemble, landing and seizing the elder by the throat. If I'm not mistaken, you're actually a subordinate of Yuan, aren't you?
How would you know about General Yuan?
The elder was utterly shocked to hear this name, as was San, simply because Yi Wang was undeniably infamous.